Ladies and gentlemen, the occasional address is to be delivered today by Ms. Kathy Kovacs. Kathy graduated from UNSW in 1991 with a Bachelor of Commerce majoring in Marketing and Finance. She also holds a Master of Applied Finance from Macquarie University. Kathy is an experienced company director and former financial services senior executive. She started her career at equity markets working for Barclays, followed by Bankers Trust, and then 10 years with Macquarie Group. She concluded her executive career with 10 years as a senior executive at Westpac, where she led the bank's strategy for the future of financial services and partnerships with fintech companies. As a company director, she serves on the boards of 3 ASX-listed companies, Hub24, OFX and Magellan, fintech startup Grapple, as well as serving in the education sector for the university's admissions centre and Kincoppal Rose Bay School. She's a wife, mother of 3 teenagers, a lover of historical fiction and an avid golfer. Graduates and guests, Kathy Kovacs.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome. Good afternoon, Presiding Member, Duty Dean, distinguished guests, graduating students, and the family and support people that you've brought with you today. I am delighted to have been asked to give today's occasional address. Like you, I graduated from this university, last century in fact, in 1991. I completed a Bachelor of Commerce, majoring in Marketing and Finance. I will not assume to know your personal situation, the mark you achieved and what you plan to do with your degree, or whether you have landed your dream job yet. But maybe you can relate to this. When I sat where you sit today, I had a pass average and I was unemployed. I hope by sharing my journey and key learnings, you will see that there are many ways to achieve your goals and that most things in the workplace, as with life, do not come without hard work and tenacity. When I graduated, the Australian economy was in a recession. We were post the 1987 stock market crash. Unemployment rates were around 7%. Interest rates were on the way down, albeit from a high of 17%. And the All Ordinaries, the index of the top 500 companies on the ASX, traded as low as 1,400. With this backdrop, getting a graduate job was not easy. I knew I wanted to work in the high-paced, challenging environment. I'd seen the 1980s Hollywood version of finance jobs via movies like Wall Street and Working Girl, and it looked pretty exciting to me. However, no one was hiring, especially not average women. Thus, my first year out of uni was incredibly formative. The setbacks I experienced in getting my first role strengthened my resolve to succeed. I was determined to prove to all the job rejectors that I was better than they thought I was. And ironically, in the end, I have worked for the largest, most successful financial services companies in Australia. The majority of the companies I've worked for, namely Macquarie, BT and Westpac, all rejected me as a graduate. I take a great deal of pride in the fact that I worked incredibly hard, never gave up, and found a way to achieve the goals I set for myself while I was at the University of New South Wales, as I'm sure you will too. I was also fortunate enough to start my career in financial markets when compulsory superannuation was first introduced in this country. When initially 3% of an employee's wage was invested for the future, the wealth industry flourished in Australia, and a generation of new companies were formed and roles were created for people like me. Today, the Australian superannuation system holds over $4 trillion worth of assets and is the envy of the world. If you're interested in being an asset manager, advising clients, managing wealth, or even building technology to support this industry, Sydney is the place to be. I'm sure you have heard many times that the jobs you will be doing in the future haven't been invented yet. And this is true of every generation. Most careers are not straight lines. It's very important to be open to the opportunities that present themselves to you along the way. Take time to explore the adjacencies in your chosen field. Think deeply about what's important to you. Who shares your values? What you're going to work to achieve? What drives you? You've also probably been told all too many times about the value of lifelong learning. Well, my interpretation of that is that the most successful and happy people are those who have wide interests. Lifelong learning doesn't only have to be continuing postgraduate studies in commerce, finance, or science, although I'm sure UNSW would be happy if you did that too. I believe that the contemplative nature of learning allows us to think creatively about the problems we encounter in the workforce. I truly value the creative mind, the people who can think differently about the problem. In a time when we're flooded with data and large language models, it's the creative mind which will allow us to ask the most interesting questions of the data. Personally, it took many years to realise that due to the nature of the broad interests I was pursuing, I could be more valuable in the workplace. I take great pride in receiving feedback today that starts with, "That's a good question and I hadn't thought of that." Before I conclude, I would like to talk a little about the workplace today. Having worked consistently for the last 30-odd years, from my first graduate role through to senior banking executive and now a non-executive director, I have been the beneficiary of a great deal of change in the workplace. As a non-executive director at OFX, Hub24 and Magellan, I now have the opportunity and responsibility to ensure the workplace delivers on its promise to employees. My hope for you is that you find yourself in a role where you can be authentic, bring your whole self to work, where your difference will be valued, where you will be respected, where you can have flexibility and your voice will be heard. In return, please do not assume the workplace owes you anything. This is a two-way deal. I encourage you to show up every day ready to take on the challenge, even if you were knocked down the previous day. This is a marathon, it is not a sprint. I encourage you to physically turn up to your place of work whenever possible. The most productive environments where you will learn the most, build the best relationships, and achieve great outcomes are the ones where people collaborate in a physical environment together. Whatever habit you formed or opportunity you missed out from the COVID way of working, now is your chance to learn new habits. I spend most of my time in and around Sydney CBD, and it is a bustling, fun environment. I still find it a very exciting place to be, even after all these years. So I wish you all the very best in the next stage of your lives. I hope you have wonderful careers in your chosen field and that you are rewarded well for your hard work, creative minds, enthusiasm and tenacity. I hope that you too are invited back here one day to give the occasional address to the next generation of graduates. Congratulations again and good luck.